where all the modern weapons were installed in 1982 when the ship was last recommissioned. That's both modern offensive weapons and defensive weapons. Offensive weapons, we have missiles. And those two orange computers right back there, they handle the launching of up to 8 each of the Harpoon missiles, which is an anti-ship missile. Did you see the video? Okay, well, you saw the Harpoons. Those two green computers and these two green computers up here handle 8 each of the Tomahawk missiles. There's a front battery and a rear battery of Tomahawks, for a total of 32 Tomahawks on board. Now, sitting in this chair would be me, the tactical action officer, who would be in charge of everyone in this room, about 12 to 15 people, smoking a cigarette, getting a haircut on Thursdays, whizzing around this way, looking at what the radars say. These radars are short-range radars. They can see out about 100 miles from out the ship. And if I needed to see out further, those radars back there can see out over 500 miles, around 500 miles around the ship. So not as great a detail as this one. These radars would be able to show an incoming missile coming in at the ship. It would be a little thin line flying in a straight pattern at the ship. Now what you see here is a simulated screen, but pretty much the way it would work. So if a missile is caught or is found to be coming in at the ship, that's when I wake up that guy over there. That's the operator of the Super Rapid Balloon Off-Board Chaff System. It's an anti-missile, it's a missile defense system. What it does is, if you continue this red tour in this direction, you'll eventually get up to the 5th deck. And on the 5th deck, outside, there are these canisters, about this big, this tall, with a red cover on it, all clustered around each other. And in those canisters are little pieces of metal, aluminum foil, strips of metal. And what he does, he would fire them into the sky, around 700 feet up into the sky. They go up into the sky, they're mortars really, they explode, and they surround the ship by metal. And those little metal pieces would confuse an enemy missile, hopefully, into thinking that those metal pieces are the ship, and not hitting the ship. So that's one missile defense system, basically trying to trick the missile into thinking something else is the ship. The other missile defense system is basically shooting down the missile, and the computer that used to be in that spot right over there, maybe took it away, handles the Phalanx Close-In Weapon System, which is the CWIS Close-In Weapon System. As you came up on the dock, you saw on this side of the ship 2, and there are 2 more on this side of the ship, a total of 4. 2 dome structures, and underneath it is a Gatling gun pointing out. And the dome structure looks like R2-D2. And inside the structure that's domed, there are 2 radars, one to track the incoming missile, one to track the outgoing bullet. It's not a system, it's not a gun system that is aimed. It is totally automatic. You just switch it on, it starts patrolling the sky, looking for missiles, then it locks on to a missile, and it starts to fire on it all by itself, no human interaction required. When that fires on the missile, it's putting out 3,000 rounds a minute. That's ammunition. The bullets are about this long, this thick, and they're made out of depleted uranium, which is very dense. So the denser the bullet is, the more damage occurs to whatever it hits. And when it fires, it doesn't go bang, 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 bang. It goes brrrr. That might be 50 rounds right there, because it fires so many projectiles at an incoming missile, which are very hard to get because missiles are very thin, very small. But that's very good. That's a very good weapon system. If a missile was to hit this ship, well, one missile is not going to do that much except kill whomever happens to be standing in that vicinity. But if it starts a fire on board, that's a serious problem because fires have killed many naval ships as well as regular ships. Once you start a fire with all the fuel oil that the ship is carrying, and there are pipes everywhere, as you can see, there are pipes and wires everywhere. You can start a fire and it's hard to put out. So let's hope that if a missile ever hits a ship like this, it doesn't hit the fuel line. Now, several missiles hitting the ship, that might be a problem, but there haven't been that many examples in history of missile attacks on ships, except during the Falkland Wars in the 1980s. French missiles, Exocet missiles, they were called, hit several English ships and sank at least one or two of them. So it is possible to sink a ship with a missile. So that's why these missile defense systems are very important. The tactical action officer would also be sitting here monitoring that board right there. Because someone is maintaining that board at all times, and that board lists all the ships in your fleet. Let's see if I can do it this way. All the ships are listed here in your fleet, and their weapons capabilities, harpoon, tomahawks, and your other weapon systems are listed. Someone is always maintaining that board for the benefit of the tactical action officer, and he would pick up this phone right there, and he would call the tactical action officers of other ships and say, "Do you see that target on your radar?" We get on our radar. Yes, I see the target. Why don't you get it instead of us? Because too many ships going after the same target is wasteful of ammunition, and we had a fire on board. We're still putting that out. We're down on tomahawks. You have more tomahawks than we do. We know that because the board says so. So that's how they arrange to go after targets as a fleet. He would also pick up this phone, talk to the captain. The captain of the ship is probably on a navigation bridge 2 decks above us, or anywhere else on the ship. He can go wherever he wants to. And when this ship was in active duty, the tactical action officer had to get the captain's permission to use a missile. And why is that? Well, each missile costs $1 million, number one. Number two, using a missile tends to elevate the battle to another level, especially if your enemy is not using missiles. And lots can go wrong with the missile. It can go off course, it could hit a friendly target, so he was probably happy that he had to ask the captain's permission. These days, in the modern Navy, he doesn't have to ask the captain's permission. He can go and use a missile if he wants to. But you can best be sure that there's some beam counter in Washington, D.C. tracking how many missiles have been fired from which ships, and is this ship, in a wartime situation, is this ship a little bit too gung-ho with the use of its tomahawks and its harpoon missiles? Because they cost a lot of money and so forth and so on. But he was probably happy he didn't have that responsibility at that time. The captain. You notice there are all these wires, and there are 2 sets of wires for everything going on in this room. So if I was to cut this wire, supposedly there's another wire someplace in here doing its job. But even if you went past this door back into the 1940s version of the ship, 1940s part of the ship, there are lots of wires and pipes everywhere, like I said before, and the reason that they didn't put a drop ceiling in these rooms is because this is not a cruise ship, it's a battleship. And number two, you need to access these wires. If there's a short, if there's a problem, if there's a leak in the pipe, you can't afford to have a pipe leaking behind a drop ceiling, which you wouldn't even see it until it's too late. Or if you knew about it, you'd have to search for it by taking all the ceiling tiles off. So that's why there are no ceilings, everything is exposed. If you were on a cruise ship and you were in your room or in a hallway and you remove the drop ceiling, you see a lot of wires and pipes above, but they have a reason to hide that from you. So it's a matter of practicality. It's not, does it look pretty? It has to work, and it has to be easy to maintain. The one other thing that is interesting about this room that I could show you is the lights. Typically, when the ship was underway, the lights would be blue, because the Navy did a study about the color blue, and they found out that the color blue had two main benefits. It made it supposedly easier to see what's on the screen, but it also had a calming effect on sailors. Let's make pretend I'm a 30-year-old operator of this harpoon launcher. You don't need me to be all nervous and jittery. The blue lights calm everyone down. So says the Navy. The Navy also did a study about the color green. Now, at one time, the ship was painted green on the inside until the 1960s, when the Navy determined that green color is making the sailors green. So they painted the ship white inside. White. But there is one place where you can see that green color. Immediately behind this door, there's a room. And that room has not changed since World War II. It's the original furnishings in there, original bed, original There's a radio in there, a fan, and other things from the 1940s. That room has not been changed. And the colors of the wall is this puke green, which is the original color. And if you look at that for 10 minutes, you'll get sick yourself, guaranteed. So that's basically what's going on in this area around here.
Like you were still, I saw you sitting over there, but I didn't know. Thanks very much.
Well, by the way, this used to be the admiral's cabin before they moved it down below to next to the captain's cabin. One of the reasons why they couldn't get these large computers through this door to get them deeper into the ship, so they had to make this into what you see now. But Admiral Halsey's bed was somewhere there, his conference table was somewhere around here, and this was all done in 1981, 82.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Don't forget to look in the green room.
Am I on the right path?
Yeah, if you're following the red line, this will
And I
eventually
got
take you up.
2 more things to go down to get back on the main deck.
But if you want to take a shortcut, you can just go out this way and go down steps that are outside.
Were you on room 2 on this side?
The Moravian gateway between the Moravian Hills and the Caucasian Mountains. Here again is Doug Everett.
They did. Go that way.
I was in the army.
Okay, I'll meet you down there. Ask that guy, he just told me, ask him, say, how can I get out?
You were saying lean forward, wasn't you? Oh, goodness. That was interesting. The bridge. It's a good view of the Ben Franklin Bridge. I think that football fall off its pedestal when all these guns shot at one time. What? That football fall off its pedestal when all these guns shot at once. Where y'all going? What time are we supposed to meet the Smiths?
8:15.
Yes, that address I have is the right number.
GPS is not working in New Jersey.
Do what?
GPS is not working in New Jersey.
Then we don't.
Well, I got the answer, no trouble.
I'm standard runner. I'm standard runner, aye, sir. Go move course,
Take your time, Gary. Let Jerry take his time. I bet you stayed in shape on this, buddy. I bet you stayed in shape. See you.